Hi, my name is Kazia Amisa, and today I'll be talking about a prominent theory in ethics. This theory is called cultural relativism. It basically says that moral principles and values are deeply embedded within a cultural context. It also says that it's very inappropriate to judge one culture's moral framework on the standards of another. So now I'll be going to the arguments. I have three. The first one is that morality is culture specific. So what is right or wrong is dependent entirely on societal norms. And these norms differ between different cultures. For example, practices like polygamy and child rearing may differ significantly across different societies. The next argument I will be discussing is that there is no universal moral truth. Cultural relativism says that universal moral standards do not exist. Each culture creates its own ethical framework, and this is dependent on their society's historical, social, and environmental circumstance. The last main argument is the total rejection of moral absolutism. So it says that they reject the idea that one culture's morality can be objectively true or inherently superior to others. So what one culture may believe, it can't be considered superior to what another culture may believe. So you can't compare the two. Now I'll be going into the 5 pillars. The first one is that different societies have different moral codes. The second one is the moral code of a society determines what is right or wrong within that society. So if the moral code says that an action is right, then that action will be right because that is what is the norm there. The third one is that there's no objective standard that can be used to judge one society's code better than another. So there's no such thing as superiority in cultural relativism. There are no moral truths that hold for all people at all times. The fourth one is that the moral code of our own society has no special status. It's just one among many. There's a lot of different moral codes. So the fifth one is that it's arrogant to judge each other's cultures. You have to be tolerant of, what another culture may believe. Even if it doesn't align with what you believe, you still have to be tolerant of it. That at least is what cultural relativism says you shall do. Now I'll be digging into the question is, can morality be objective? According to cultural relativism, the answer is no. Morality cannot be objective. It's because moral principles arise from cultural differences, practices, and beliefs. But this stance can be seen as controversial because it denies the idea of universal moral truths. Critics argue that values such as justice, human rights, the protection of life should be upheld universally, no matter, the different circumstance. No matter the culture. But the existence of some global norms, such as anti-slavery, such as gender equality, indicates that some moral principles might possess, an objective basis. Now, I'll be discussing 3 objections to cultural relativism. The first one is the problem of moral progress. If all moral codes are seen as valid within their cultural context, how can a society's ethical practice evolve or improve? So the idea of progress, like ending slavery, like advancing women's rights, it makes no sense. It assumes a fixed standard for improvement. The second one is the inability to criticize harmful practices. Some cultures practice female genital mutilation, child marriage, discrimination based on caste. Even though those are really harmful, cultural relativism says you have to accept it basically because that's the societal norm. So it makes it really hard to criticize these practices even though they cause significant harm and they violate, basic human rights. So critics also say that this belief can perpetuate injustice. It can perpetuate suffering. The third one is internal contradiction. Cultural relativism says that no one culture's morality is better than another, but it also promotes tolerance as a universal value. This contradicts itself because by logic, intolerance would be valid in some cultures. So that just creates an internal contradiction. That's all I really have for today. Thank you for listening. Bye.